My eyes look a little bit puffy. It's definitely because it's allergy season, and I got a little bit of smoke in my eyes from the barbecue, and has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I've just watched Hamnet and maybe burst out in tears.
I was going to say, tell the truth.
So I got finished reading Hamnet last week, and I'm glad I persevered with it, because halfway through I kind of stalled with it a bit. But when it gets to part 2, I absolutely flew through it. So part 2 is kind of when William Shakespeare is putting together the play Hamlet, which is obviously based off of his son. And then you realise just how much the death of his son has impacted William Shakespeare, and he obviously pours all of his emotion into the play, and then in some ways that kind of rebuilds the relationship between him and Agnes, because they sort of drift apart because of the whole tragedy of Hamnet. So yeah, it reads extremely well, but when you've sort of read the book and then you watch the film and then you can kind of see the performances on display, yeah, the floodgates opened. Jessie Buckley is absolutely outstanding in that as well. But yeah, really, really good book. I enjoyed it a lot more than kind of I expected to halfway through the book. So I realised that the first part of the book, you're really kind of building the characters and understanding the characters, and then the second part really kind of brings it together, and yeah, deeply emotional. Yeah, I think this is one of these books where once I finish reading it, I need to digest it and think about it a little bit, and then I'll probably appreciate it a little bit more once I've given it a little bit more thought and let it digest a little bit. Shall we watch The Office to cheer ourselves up a bit? Yeah. Okay. Or you could listen to me waffle on about books for the next half an hour.
That won't cheer me up.
No. Right, anyway, moving on. I thought for this video I'll keep it fairly casual and just talk to you about some things to do with the gym and some things to do with reading and books. So books that I've purchased, books that I've read, and books that I'm currently reading, that sort of thing. And I thought to start off with, I would talk about some PBs that I've hit, and they're not just gym PBs. I've hit some reading PBs as well. So starting off with the gym, I recently hit 142.5 kilos on the bench with a band.
Oh my god!
Which sounds extremely niche, because it is, because I haven't hit a PB in the gym for a long time, so I'm celebrating any little PB that I can get.
Congratulations!
Thank you, my darling, that's very kind of you. So yeah, managing to hit some PBs in the gym, which I'm really pleased with, especially because I am dieting, and when I diet, bench is normally the first thing to drop off. So I'm feeling really strong at the moment, which I'm really happy about. In terms of the PBs for books, I was having a little look through my read books from last year, and this time last year I had read 10 books, and this year I set myself a goal of reading 35 books, and I have already read 19 books, so I'm well on my way to achieving my goal of 35. And yeah, just hitting a little bit of a reading PB for the amount of books that I've read up until this point, because I've never read this many books at this point in a year. So I'm very pleased with that. I have read a few more short stories, which is probably why I'm getting through a few books quicker. Yeah, hitting some PBs in the gym and hitting some reading PBs. So always happy to be getting personal bests, no matter what they look like. There's another PB coming up.
Yeah.
What, getting married?
Yeah.
That is a personal best, I guess. A relationship PB. We're just life maxing, baby.
Oh god.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. This really is a very niche YouTube channel, isn't it? Talking about PBs in the gym and talking about reading PBs.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Thanks, babe. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was my recent trip to a charity shop where I picked up a load of books. But it ended up being my most expensive book haul ever. And I'll explain why in a minute. But first of all, I want to show you the books I actually got. So these are them, and these are mainly Stephen King books. So my cousin sent me a picture of an Oxfam the other day and basically said, I think this is going to be up your street. So after work one day, I went straight to that charity shop and I picked up these books, but I'll explain why it ended up being so expensive. So I'll show you the books first of all. So I got Stephen King's Night Shift. Obviously all of these books I haven't got. Wind Through the Keyhole, which is part of the Dark Tower series. Apparently this isn't that great and you don't have to read it as part of the Dark Tower series, but I will get around to that at some point, just in the interest of trying to read every single Stephen King book. The Tommyknockers, this is one that I've been interested in reading for a long time. Also, Dolores Claiborne, I've been interested in reading this one as well. Also want to see the film, so it'd be interesting to read that first. Then I've got From a Buick 8. Full Dark No Stars, which is another short story collection along with Night Shift, and then Lisey's Story. I really like this because it's like a massive hardback and it's also got like a protective film around it, and it's in really good condition. So got that, and then finally I got A Little Life, which I'm definitely not going to read anytime soon because obviously I've just... Not after Hamnet, precisely, because that was pretty depressing, and apparently this book is depression on steroids, so I think I'll give this a little bit of a swerve for now, but I will get around to reading it at some point. Now then, I'll explain why these cost so much money. So I actually got the books, all of them, for 16 quid, which I think is an absolute bargain. The only issue was I was parked in an illegal parking spot, and although they give you 5 minutes grace, I ended up chatting to one of the people behind the counter about The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, because they were going off on a tangent about how it's a really bad book in terms of historical accuracy. So I ended up getting into a conversation for 5 minutes about that. That meant that I went over my allotted time and I got a £70 fine. So yeah, what turned into a £16 book haul turned into an £86 book haul.
Shouldn't be so friendly.
But yeah, I'm not going to be getting around to reading any of these anytime soon, but it's always nice to add to the already massive Stephen King collection. So another film that Lois and I watched the other day was Dune, and I actually saw on someone's YouTube channel that they actually recommended watching the film before reading the book, because apparently the book is a little bit confusing if you're not familiar with Frank Herbert's writing. So that's what we did. We watched the film before I've actually read the book. So I am looking forward to reading it now that I've seen the film, because I feel like I'm going to have much more of an understanding of what's going on in the world. Because sometimes when I am reading, I can get a little bit confused, and sometimes that can be enough for me to kind of stall reading a book if I'm just being really impatient and just don't want to kind of like really learn the world itself. So yeah, that's really exciting. A world that I'm very much immersed in at the moment is the First Law world, Joe Abercrombie's First Law series, and that consists of the Blade itself, which I've read before they are hanged, and now I'm in the final book, which is The Last Argument of Kings, and I am halfway through this at the moment, and it is so good. I've been listening to the audiobook of this as well, so I kind of read a little bit, listen to a little bit, and Stephen Pacey, who is the narrator, is unbelievable. I would always say if you're going to do one or the other, I would always say read the book, because I just find that you can sort of create the world more in your head. But Stephen Pacey just does such an amazing job as the narrator that I do find that when I'm driving to work or to the gym, I will just put the audiobook on as well. But yeah, unbelievable. The world building, the politics, the characters in particular are just so good. So this is my first experience of reading anything by Joe Abercrombie, but I would highly recommend. So I'm also looking forward to finishing this trilogy, because I'm looking to put together a video where I discuss the greatest trilogies in literature, or the ones that I've read anyway, and I'll do a little bit of a ranking of all of the trilogies that I've read and talk through which I think is the best. Needless to say, this is going to be up there for sure, but I have also read Lord of the Rings, so can't exactly not put that in there. So while I was on my stag do, because I'm getting married if I hadn't already mentioned it, I actually started reading The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I know, wild, reading a book while on your stag do, but because we went to Milan, I had a little bit of time on the flight, so I did pick this one up and got through about 70 odd pages, and it is so good so far. So I've only read one other Cormac McCarthy book, and that is Blood Meridian, and this isn't as dark maybe as Blood Meridian, but it's definitely like, it's another depressing book, I'll be honest with you, and there's no chapters in it, it's just one whole long slog. It's basically based off of a father and a son who are in a post-apocalyptic world, and they're just walking on a road, and they're trying to kind of escape people that are kind of after them, but we don't really know who these people are, and that's kind of where I'm up to at the moment in the book. So yeah, it's a nice light reading before getting on the piss in Milan, but yeah, really good so far. I'm really enjoying it. So it is a bit of a goal of mine to read a bit more by Cormac McCarthy, because he's got a very interesting writing style. It's almost hypnotically precise. It's very sort of on the nose, but you can't help but continue on reading. There's not much in the way of properly structured grammar. There's no real like punctuation marks, there's no quotation marks or speech marks when people are in dialogue, so you're kind of confused when it's sort of like dialogue or just part of the sort of story. There's a reason why I think his style of writing has kind of been studied in universities even. I remember watching a lecture about someone breaking down the writing style of Blood Meridian in particular, which I thought was really interesting. So I'm very keen to read a little bit more, just because he is very maverick in his writing style. I don't think he sort of cares about things like punctuation, like I said. I think that's quite refreshing to read. So The Road is the second book of Cormac McCarthy's that I'm currently reading, and the third one is going to be No Country for Old Men, because I've seen the film, absolutely love the film, one of my favourite films of all time, so I'll be interested to read the book and see how they compare. So finally, let's get back onto Stephen King, because this is a book that I'm definitely going to be reading this year, and hopefully before October, because this is the second book in the Talisman series, and the third book is being released in October. So Stephen King co-wrote this with Peter Straub. Obviously, The Talisman is the first book. I read that this year. So I want to read this before he releases the third book, which is going to be called Other Worlds Than These. I think there's going to be a big tie-in to the Dark Tower series, which is why I'm particularly keen on it. I thought The Talisman was pretty good, but I wasn't like blown away by it. It wasn't my favourite Stephen King book that I've ever read. So it'll be interesting to read this one. Hopefully it's not going to be a slog just to get through, just so I can then read Other Worlds Than These. But it is a bit of a chonker, so I will need to dedicate a month just to really get through this one, enjoy it, so then I can really look forward to the third book. I like the fact that Stephen King is going to be co-authoring it with Peter Straub, even though Peter Straub has passed away. I thought that was quite a nice touch, because he wrote the first two books with him. He's going to honour his name by putting him in the title as well, or put him down as a co-author as well. So that pretty much wraps that up. I haven't really got much else to discuss in terms of books. Monday, I'm going to be back in the gym, and I'm actually going to be hitting a pretty heavy bench single, 152.5 kilos, and I'm looking forward to getting back in the gym, mainly so I can listen to my audiobook again. So I've actually started listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I've seen advertised everywhere, and a lot of people have sort of told me about the book, but I've just, for whatever reason, haven't been drawn to it. But I can see why people really like it, especially if you are a gamer, because it's got big tie-ins with like the gaming community, which isn't really for me, but I'm enjoying the book so far, and I'm enjoying listening to it in the gym. It just gives me a chance to sort of listen to an audiobook for an hour or so and kind of switch off from the world, while I'm also doing my other favourite thing, which is lifting weights. So looking forward to doing that on Monday. Come here, Petal. My future wife, everybody.
You know.
Alright, that is it from me. Happy reading, everybody. Enjoy your bank holiday weekend. Don't get too sunburned, and I'll see you soon. Take care.